VK3WY. VK3EN. Well, I thought I'd heard Dick's name mentioned, so I took it for granted that he may have been on, but evidently I mistook that. Yes, well, okay, about tonight, Bob. Yes, I've got that listed, and we'll see what comes of that. Well, then on Thursday night, of course, well, we've got the back to 2001 now, so we'll be hopeful that that is as good as the previous ones. Well, David was here last night, and we went over quite a few of the old, towards the 2000, and on the second time round, or even the third time round for me, you pick up quite a lot of useful information that you've overlooked in the first showing. And one particular one was of the buildings. Instead of building them above the ground, they're building them below the ground, up to 4 stories and basement below the ground. And all the gadgets they've got for directing the sunlight into these beautiful rooms there, and all the equipment laid out, and they're introducing by mirrors and such like the sunlight to give them the appearance of their above ground. And that's just something quite new, actually, as far as we're concerned, for our knowledge of that. But this was in Germany, so they're forging ahead there. And also about the acid rain. I don't know whether you've seen that one, Bob, but the Black Forest in Germany is being annihilated by this black rain with the nitrogen and the other chemicals and gases that are emitted from the various factories and the motor cars and that. And the beautiful forest is just dying off. So all those things, when you look at them the second time, you begin to realise just what is going on around you. Okay there, Jerry. Well, the signal here is well over the 9, so I've got no trouble in copying, believe me. And Barry, yes, it's a good hobby, and I think for we elderly gentlemen, it's a godsend, because you can always come and do a listen, and you're looking around for some of the old pals that you used to talk with, and if you're lucky enough to get hold of one of them, or to make a new contact for yourself, well, then it passes the day very nicely. Because when you get along to the few years that I've got, well, then the outside work is almost a thing of the past. Oh, it's a heck of a thing to realise too, believe me. Isn't it, Bob? We're in the same boat. Actually, we have quite a job in getting around. Well, now getting on to you, Barry, again. Yes, well, I think we all start with shortwave listening. Well, of course, in our days we started with the crystal. And, in that book that our friend down there at Spring Vale's got, there's a list of all the broadcast stations, all the shortwave stations, commercial stations, you name it. He's got it. And it's most interesting if you're that interested in overseas listening to Barry. You'll find a list of everything in that little book. And I got a list from an up-to-date list, and by Jove, that's very informative. The number of stations that are on the band now for various reasons. The commercials and that are all down just about up to the 500 megahertz. And unless you got this little book, you don't know they exist. Okay, about Cedric, yes, I'd like a few words with Cedric, because he did come on and break the ice some time ago, but I believe he has some skids that interfere actually with the timing. But if you are about Cedric, make yourself known, will you? Well, Bob, do we go back to you again? Believe it or not, we do. VK3WY, VK3EN.
VK3ABS and the group VK3WY. Okay, fine. First of all, Jerry, at your age, you're the youngster of the group. You probably and Jeff, 3AUX, be the youngsters. So, well, excuse me. Got a bit of a cough. Hey, you were saying that it's a relief not to have to go into town each day, Jerry. Yes.
VK3APM on the side. VK3ABS now signing, but we'll be listening. Good morning, everyone.
Good, VK3WY, and now inclusive of 3APM. Good morning, Ron, too. Yes, the signal's got plenty of modulation on it now. It's what a difference it was when you came on yesterday, because I had the gain turned up nearly about 3/4 up to get a readable signal, and then all of a sudden, when you changed mics, you just came in with one big thump, and I had to make a dive for the volume control. But the world of difference, there's no doubt about that. And I think the reports that you got confirmed that, like from all of us. Yes, Barry, well, then don't hesitate to get Jerry on the job there to give you a few hints and teach you the code. Because I know with my assistant at work there, we used to spend our lunch hour talking to each other on Morse code. And I've got that tone coming in again, Bob. Used to be able to get to talk to each other on Morse code, and it was a real good thing too, because it familiarised, quick thinking, and putting it into the code mode. And with the result is that he passed the code very easily. And after a little bit more tuition and that, well, then he went for his ticket then for the AOCP and got it. And he never took advantage of it. All these years, he's never become an amateur after all this time. His name was Don Gordon. And he was allocated to the radio actually as my assistant, and well, we got on very well together, because for your information, Jerry and Barry were the radio officer in the fire brigade, so we made everything. That was a rule of the brigade, that everything had to be made which was possible to be made on the premises. And believe me, everything was made. The only thing that came in that wasn't made in the premises is the chassis of the hose carriages. But all the rest was all made in the shops. Bodywork, pumps, you name it. Radios, radio sets. It was well, I think they did everything from blacksmithing, because I came in on the last of the horses. Do you remember those horses, Bob? But, they're fantastic, those animals. I think I came in on the last month or so of the horses and the blacksmiths, when the bells went on, the watchman pressed the button and up went the shutters on the stables. The horses were in the front station, and two stables there, one on either side of the washroom. And out come the confounded horses. They got in front of the carriages and they backed themselves in, and then the fireman dropped the harnesses on them. He coupled them up, and away they went. It was a sight, believe me. But that takes me back 50 years, jolly near. But what interested me actually were all the radio equipment was made in the brigade, installed and maintained. And Jerry, we were the first in Australia to have two-way radio communication. And it was a little bit crude those days, I admit it, but we got back. And there's one thing actually, the radio department there were very cooperative. Well, I've had experimental license from them for over 60 years. And that's before I decided to become an amateur, which was in 1936. So I haven't got long to go, Bob. You and I got it. Oh no, you aren't over 50, aren't you? Over 50 years. Well, I've got a few more months, and then I'll complete the 50 years as an amateur. But it'll be over 60 years as with a permit. Right. Well, that's past history. Well, Bob, what about it? Have we had it this morning? And Ron, would you like to have another say and tell us what you propose with the number 2 rig? VK3APM, VK3EN. Interference to such an extent before. So my weekend was busy. I pulled all the equipment to pieces. I tested every article for any sign of interference or causing any trouble in that respect. But they were all clean. So, I after having satisfied myself that it wasn't originating here, I took the bowl of Wadley out under the power lines and I copped it in big lumps. Right, well that's the sad story, and I did have a miserable weekend. And don't forget Quantum tonight, 8 o'clock. We see what they've got for us. But, oh yes, on Sunday, there was a night, I had the BC on, BC 348 on, listening to the usual net there on Sunday morning. And all of a sudden there was some queer noises and some blurts, and all of a sudden the signal ceased. And I didn't know at the moment. I thought they'd finished. Well, after that, then I started to smell something. And when I looked at the receiver, I found it had gone out. So out came the power supply, quick and lively, and one half of the transformer had been burnt out on the secondary side. And a diode, a rectifier diode, one of the 1,000-volt PIV, that was shorted. So I lost a transformer. So I've had a busy weekend. I hope yours have been a little bit better. Okay, Bob, about the noise. Well, I told the DOC of the interference that you've been getting, and he said it's common. And it's funny, the SEC don't do anything about it, or can't do anything about it. because they haven't got the equipment. That's all been handed over. So, no wonder we can't expect any concerted effort actually to cure these faults. Well, anyway, it's down to half now. So over to you, Ron, if it's your turn. VK3APM, VK3EN.
VK3EN and the group. This is VKAPM returning.
Good, VK3WY, VK3EN. Yes, good morning to you too, Fred. The brief signal that I heard was quite good here. Well, talking about Barlow Wadleys, yes, I got one, and it's hardly ever been used. It is a difficult receiver to tune, because you've got to get the megahertz, and then you've got to get the kilohertz set exactly right. Otherwise, it doesn't function. They're moved on separate dials, and well, they're good quality too, and accurate, and very sensitive. But they are difficult unless you've got the frequency. You'll be fiddling around for quite a while. And that drift actually that you spoke of, Jeff, well, that's most unusual because the oscillator is tied down very securely actually, and I've never had any drift in mine. Always come right up. Although there is a wide range actually, when you strike say between 1 meg and 2 megs, there is an optimum position between those two. If it's 1.5 you want, you might be on 1.1, or no, 1.6 perhaps on the graduation scale, and you've got that margin between 1.5 and 1.6, and anywhere between those two will give you the frequency that you require. So that's a strange condition, that, but it seems to work. And if you set it on 1.5 and then tune your kilohertz to the right setting, then the station comes in. But you have got that variation in the megahertz scale, which is common, I believe, to that type of set. So if that shifts at 70, or what you say, kilocycles, well, that will depend on the setting of your megahertz side. But all told, actually, for a test receiver, they're very good. Well, with regard to my problem, well, then I don't know how it's going to end, chaps. It's the good old days are gone. And yes, I've given them a lot of praise, the Caulfield Repet, because they have turned out an excellent meal. But when I got this one, of course, my hopes fell. And I didn't open it until the ladies had gone. But when I did, well, then I just gave one look, and I was about to upend it. But I saved it. I saved it for the visitors, which we had a little later to have a look at. And what they said I couldn't put over the air. So that shows how good it was. Yes, well, I've been on the BC again, and unfortunately I've lost the sequence of the plug. The wires pulled out I've got a 12-pin plug going in the back where all the connections take place, and I pulled on the cable a bit, and of course I pulled them out. They stuck there, and well, I had to get it out one way or the other, and of course a few of them came out, and then, now I've got to search for where they go. It's rather complicated. It's like the Eddystone too. These parts are very hard to get at, and they take a bit of sorting out to try and get hold of them. Okay, about the traffic, Bob. Well, Joe, the things have never been better. We've had fewer strikes, we've had fewer disturbances. What are you growling at? Well, we're being told that from time to time, and we're beginning to believe it. Oh, yeah? Yes, the buses are stopped too, chaps. Here in Oakley there's a disturbance where the buses terminate, and yes, they've stopped. All right, well then, I think I'll close now and get on with this other job. I'd like to get it finished. And it's going to be a bit tough actually, because the old eyes are not as good as they used to be, and to dive in amongst a lot of wiring isn't easy. So we'll persevere. Oh, by the way, Jeff, how was the grapefruit? There's a few more come down, but well, the lady over the road's put in a claim for them, so I've got to hold them. Anyway, for a time being, until she takes them or doesn't want them. All right, well, that's it for this morning, chaps. And I'll... What the dickens is that? I'm getting all sorts of funny noises on the radio phone there. Well, one would think that was a call, but it stopped. Oh well, we can't be worried. All right, chaps, that's it for this morning. We'll see you tomorrow. VK3EN. Good old Bob, you slip in between and that'll keep it in order. No, we got Jerry on now, 3ABS. Right, Bob, yes, well, I think we were just a little bit ahead of time this morning. It's quite a surprise when I heard Murray come up. I looked at my watch and it didn't seem to click. So I thought the old watch had gone, but it's all explained now. Now, Bob, what was that now? I heard a bit of that, and I thought it came from Channel 10. But if you got any information, yes, I would like to know that, because the repeat actually of Quantum was on last night, but I've already got that. But I'd like this one, because I did just get the tail end of some machinery now that they're going to describe, modern machinery, and I'm interested in that. Noise, well, I'm getting all the queer sort of noises you could... Oh, shut up. Murray, I have intruders on that gadget of ours. Right, well now, break in, Bob, while the question is there. What channel was it on? And it's around about 7:30, was it? Yes, well now, we're getting onto these noises. I'm getting all sorts of queer noises here now. That like a fast surge, and well, I can hardly describe them because they all come in different. But I've never had those previously. So whether it's static or whether it's interference, well, I can't determine that yet. All right, Jerry, until we all get together, VK3ABS, VK3EN. Oh well, never mind. Somebody's got to get some of what I got. Okay, about the Moorabbin Club tonight. Yes, I'll have a look around for that. See what's doing there. Now, Murray, have you got the IREE monitor for this month? It's most enlightening there, because all the different firms that in electronics now that are now coming to the fore and making equipment. Well, that's surprising now, because it was so dead for so long. And what interested me was one section there, the New Perth TV station. They've antennas proprietary have made and designed an antenna that has a gain that will lift a 10 kW television transmitter, and it will increase that power by the radiation and the design of the antenna to 100 kilowatts, from 10 to 100 kilowatts. Well, how can you do that? It's we're always out for any gain in antenna output, but to have a ratio as large as that, and it's a worldwide patent now. So that's something there, and all the new terms that they've introduced to electronics, and all the different phases of what the IREE are going into, and they've been elected there a very high position actually in the committee that they're forming. Yes, I spent most of Sunday afternoon there on that pamphlet, and there's a lot of good reading in it, and it's surprising what has been taking place up to the present time. Now, Bob, can you tell us anything about the FRG7? Has that a digital readout? And you're asking about the BC348. Well, I don't know what to do with it. I've got all the audio equipment right from the detector, but there's something fizzling inside the RF side, and of course there's nothing from that end. So it means an awful lot of work pulling it to pieces, because you can't get at it. The cabling is run underneath in the ducting, and you've got to lift all those. I think there are five condensers there, a variable condenser there in a row of 5, and all that's got to be lifted out. And the valves, of course, are sitting inside it. As you know, Jeff, you got one of the lighters, and you just can't get at it without a major operation. And I'm afraid I'll have to give it away. So anything you can tell me about the FRG7, whether it's worth considering. And the new one has got the digital readout, and a lot of other different devices and that have been built into it, but I'm not keen on those. I don't want those in particular, but I would like digital readout. So anything you can help in that respect there, I'll make a note of, and then I'll do a bit of looking round. Well, I suppose, as David said last night when he was here, when was it? Friday night when he was here, we had the BC on the test bench there, and we were looking over it. And of course, he said, "I'm no good to you. I can't help you. I can do some soldering for you if you like, but that's about all." But I'm a little bit fearful now of doing a soldering job right inside it, of putting it on the wrong pin, and I don't know what'll happen when that happens. So I think I'll have to retire it. Well, I suppose 20 years is not a bad spell for a receiver, is it? Now the number one band, of course, gets all those stations that you chaps are chasing. And I used to get quite a lot of enjoyment of hearing the different stations with their call signs throughout the length and breadth of Australia. Even the Darwin comes in quite well, because as a receiver, I think that the BC would be very hard to beat. Right, well that went right up to 18 megs. Missing the broadcast band, of course. Now what next? When you're going to get hold of that pamphlet, Murray, just take note actually of all the different terms, the different, the names they're giving to all the different applications, robots and all. They've all got a term now, and they're called by something which is entirely strange actually to the normal person, because he'd never heard of those names before. So we've got a lot to learn, haven't we? All right, Jerry. Okay, about your relatives there, and yes, it'll be interesting to know how you found that out. Well, that doesn't bother me, because the only relative that I know and have never seen is the great-grandfather over there in Cornwall. And not having seen him or knowing anything about him, well then I don't delve into that. But I'm the last of the original Pierce family. So David carries on after me. All right, I think I've had a fair go. Right, Jerry, VK3ABS, VK3EN. Perhaps 3MP is coming through, 3MP is breaking through.
Yes, Henry, it could be MP that I'm hearing. I can just hear a very faint voice in the background. Just check that I've got it. Yeah, okay, I'll, let's see, pass it to you, Jeff, and then Henry. Well, don't know, we've got much to talk about this morning. I'll tell you one thing, Jeff, we don't want to talk about the cricket much, do we?
No breakers, VK3EN. Well, we're a little bit short this morning, aren't we? Well, I've had the heater going right from when I got up, and well, this room's nice and warm now. But by Jove, it was cold last night. Well, did any of you listen to the David Johnson one from Channel 10? Because if you missed that, you missed something that was really good. And it's the best approach towards 2000 that I've seen. Right from the start of transistors, and what happened when they first started up with computers with valves, and all the trouble with the heating and the failures and that they got, and the immense proportions of the equipment. Well, I know at the brigade there, when they put the computer in, it was all valves. It was a hell of a thing. I suppose extended about 20 feet, at least 20 feet. And the heat given off from that equipment was quite excessive. Well, I don't know if they've made any improvements because they haven't consulted me, so I wouldn't know. Right, but that was the first instance when computers came out, when they got the valve version of it, and well, where that happened, that used to be our lunch room, the officers' lunch room, there where we got served up a nice hot dinner. We had an excellent cook there, one of the firemen, and he prepared a beautiful meal until this confounded computer came along, and they were looking for somewhere to put it. So they put it in the mess room, and that ended our dinners. So we all had to provide our own dinners after that. Oh, that was a shame. But nevertheless, that's progress, isn't it? Well, this session there showed this various stages from the early valve computers. Then all of a sudden the transistor came to light, the silicon strip, and that revolutionized the whole business. And the valve computer from then on was extinct. But all that they can do now with valves and or not valves, with transistors and the silicon strip, they can get 10,000 or more transistors on the little silica strip, a quarter of an inch square, or not square, but in a quarter of an inch in size, with a very thin thickness. So I enjoyed that, and I've got the taping of it. I broke in this morning, and he said he was turning around, and he got the early portions of it, and he probably put the video on, and he got that too. But the use that they're putting the transistor to now, that is the robots, all that is by transistorized radio, that be on the mechanical side of it. But persons that were unable to walk, they designed a robot so that the muscles of his leg were controlled by the impulses from this computer. And as one leg went forward and bent at the knee and took a step forward, the other one prepared to follow. And that chap that was a complete, invalid, that he couldn't walk a step, he was able to get up and walk. So if you get the chance to see that thing again, it's worth it. Right, well now Ike also told me that you can get a frequency adapter for 101s. If you haven't got a digital readout, you can adapt this counter to the 101s, but it means altering the circuit internally, one of the circuits internally, because it's equipped to take this add-on stage, and you use one of the plugs. But at which one it is, well then we'd have to make inquiries on that. But if you've got a digital readout, you know exactly where you are. But when you're fiddling around to this 101B, it's a very hard one to tune on 432. You've only got to breathe on it, and you don't get any signal at all. So although it's stable, once you start it, it's stable, but you can very easily lose it. Right, now, okay, about your problems there on the lady with the radio there. Oh, that's good of you to help those people, to give them some incentive to, you might say, live, because they depend so much on that. But that's where the P45 wins, I think. You can just set that up and just plug in, and you've got all the TV stations and the SPS, no problem. So that'll pass the time away. The 3MP, yes, that's their one of their AM sidebands. I think the upper one, since they added that. Although that was done right in the early stages and never caused any trouble until they started using it. Well, and although it doesn't affect anybody, not here, you know it's there in the background. All right, Bob. Well, okay, you're about your morning trip. Well, I think you'll have to arrange for a better time during the day. You won't do yourself any good going out in that cold weather. In fact, I've had to change my habits considerably. Where I used to roam out of the morning there and have a prowl around, oh, that's been wiped out now. Because it's that darn cold, actually, you never get warm after it. All right, Bob. Well, what else have we got to go into? But if either of you did see that David Johnson one, well, then I think you'll admit it's one of the best. Ike was really thrilled with it, and so was I, and I absorbed every bit of it. But what they've done with computers in relation to robots, and the number of robots that are now in the world, it's amazing. And a lot of them are used for medical purposes. Anyway, enough of that for a while. Right, Bob, VK3WY, VK3EN, and are there any breakers? Yes, well, you've covered those issues pretty well. Quantum, yes, that was due to come on, wasn't it, on 8 o'clock, but yeah, tonight. But of course, the budget's got precedence. Now, in regard to the connections, Bob, that's what I was wanting. Ike did give me the details of the one that he's using. That is the adapter that issue supply for adding on to any of the 101s. But well, he was very sceptical about plugging into the takeoff point there, to drive transverters, and that's what I was mainly concerned about. What had happened. But if the takeoff through a 1 or 2 picofarad condenser will do the job, well then there shouldn't be any difficulty, because any loss of carrier or drive would be very, very small. But I didn't want to plug in and upset the 101B just for lack of a little bit of information. But you give me something to go on now, Bob, and I thought of putting a link coupling, but of course that would be only asking for trouble, wouldn't it? Now, but I've got those small micro condensers which I can use, so I can go up from about 1 to about 5. So I may get enough drive actually on the smallest one to do the job. Yes, when you're looking at the dial, and you want to pick up frequency, you're scratching around a bit. You don't know what you've got. And after having the digital readout on the other set, well then it makes things much easier. Now, oh, your noise there, Jeff. Have you ever thought of asking the DOC to have a look at it? Because that's what they do, you know. They've got their radio chaps, and they go around. As one was going around here, and he paid me a visit actually after some interference, and they found it. So I don't know whether it has reappeared again, but it was from another amateur on single sideband, and he was upsetting the frequencies actually on television. But anyway, that was fixed up. Now, Murray, okay, the haircut? Well, it's a long time since I've had a haircut, because I'll cut my own hair. I've got the devices all ready, and so long as I look respectable, that does me. So that's all I can hope for. Since I can't get out to go to a beauty parlour, well, it'd be nice, you know, in a way, if you had a nice young lady there to cut your hair and to tell you stories while she's doing that. I'd like to try it sometime. Well, what do you say, Murray? VK3EN said VK3EN.
But out our mountain here, the Mount Waverley gentleman will be dropping in on top of us in due course too. Anyhow, Bob, what say you kick off, then pass it to Jeff, and we'll see what happens in the meantime. VK3WY in the group, VK3H said bye.
VK3AUX in the group, VK3WY.
And VK3EN with a little bit of feedback.
Just got here about a minute or so before time, and of course found that I'd left the rig tuned on.
Well, as you say, Jeff, we had a good talk here with Charlie there, and I don't think either of us are much the wiser, because well, there's so many points that we had to look at, and the main discussion was how to play safe with the the transistor in the first stages. But anyway, we went through the instruction book, and there was one little section devoted to that. Now you've got to short the squelch to the Earth system, and that must be instantaneous. When you switch on your transmitter, that the relay's got to snap very, very smartly, and that deadens the receiver, and you also have got to open the coax line right at the receiver. That is the input antenna line. So I've got two of them now. It's opened at the main relay up on top, the transmit receive relay, and it's opened right at the back of the set. Well, there are two of the conditions that you must observe, or else you do your front end in just as quick as that. So I've been rather scared to switch it on. So we weren't game yesterday to put power on it, because you've got to read the instructions. They tell you that quite clearly there. You've got to read the instructions and familiarise yourself with all the controls. Well, it'll take a long while to sink in. Well, Bob, I'm waiting now on a reply actually from Stan, because the batteries weren't supplied. No, Murray, there were no batteries supplied for memory. I suppose that's on account of storage or the length of time they might be on the shelf. So I've written up to Stan for them, and I suppose you'll get them in a couple of days. And of course there are no plugs. It's just a bare receiver. There's no additions that you've got to have to set it up. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that, because even if they put a separate account in for it, you'd think that they would supply you enough equipment to go ahead straight away with. Well, then that'll hold things up for quite a while longer. But even now, I'm not sure of myself. Charlie was telling me about a device actually that the RF pick up the RF and from the transmitter, and that instantly actuates the relay, and so safeguards the set. But at the moment we have no details of the equipment required to do that. So I don't know. I think I might have bitten off more than I can chew, because it's going to take me one long time to familiarise myself with all these buttons and all the functions that the thing will do. It's an 8-bit CPU. What's that? 8-bit CPU microprocessor. And there are 2 clocks on it. What for, I don't know. It doesn't tell you. And there's adjustment for if it's running slow or running fast. And then there's the CAT 5-pinned in plug, and that plugs direct into your computer, which I haven't got. And the computer can control the receiver. What for? I don't know. So we leave it at that. Well, Charlie, if you're listening, and do get any clues to that RF gadget, I'll have a go at it, because it'd be a tragedy to blow the thing up, wouldn't it, when I first switch on? All right, Murray. You'll have to console me then. VK3, 8 said VK3EN.
Console you, Henry. I'm just about shattered. VK3WI in the group. VK38 said. Yes, all very interesting, but in a way quite frightening, isn't it? The whole thing reminded me of a one-time statement for Robert Gordon Lindsay's life wasn't meant to be easy. It certainly applies to that. Well, I know that the time will come, Henry, when you'll be able to just sort of laugh about it. But when it's all dumped on you in one heap like that, it almost seems you can't do anything, doesn't it? Anything you do is fraught with risk and complications galore. Yeah, there we are. That's the name of the game. You can't do you can't do much about what you might call the black box effect, but they certainly can make you do a lot of things with the what you call the bits that stick out, the add-ons of various sorts. Anyhow, in time, I guess you'll look at it, Henry, and think, wonder how it looked so difficult. With those sort of things, when you first look at them, it's a feeling almost of horror, and then gradually you pare them off bit by bit until you just take the lot in your stride. But it certainly sounds complicated. Yes, okay, Bob, about the old timers net. Yes, it was remarkably well done, having regard to the fact that sort of backpedal at the last minute, but everything went very well and very smoothly. Bit of bad luck about poor old Clem Day. I got a bit of a shock too.
So we leave it at that. Well, Charlie, if you're listening and you do get any clues to that RF gadget, I'll have a go at it, because it'd be a tragedy to blow the thing up, wouldn't it, on the first switch on? All right, Murray, you'll have to console me then. VK3HZ, VK3EN.
Console you, Henry. I'm just about shattered. VK3WI in the group, VK3HZ. Yes, all very interesting, but in a way quite frightening, isn't it? The whole thing reminded me of a one-time statement by Robert Gordon Menzies: "Life wasn't meant to be easy." It certainly applies to that. Oh, I know that the time will come, Henry, when you'll be able to just sort of laugh about it. But when it's all dumped on you in one heap like that, it almost seems you can't do anything, doesn't it? Anything you do is fraught with risk and complications galore. Yeah, there we are. That's the name of the game. You can't do much about what you might call the black box effect, but they certainly can make you do a lot of things with the what you call the bits that stick out, the add-ons of various sorts. Anyhow, in time, I guess you'll look at it, Henry, and think, wonder how it looked so difficult. With those sort of things, when you first look at them, it's a feeling almost of horror, and then gradually you pare them off bit by bit until you just take the lot in your stride. But it certainly sounds complicated. Yes, okay, Bob, about the old timers net. Yes, it was remarkably well done, having regard to the fact that they had to sort of backpedal at the last minute, but everything went very well and very smoothly. Bit of bad luck about poor old Clem Day. I got a bit of a shock to hear of his passing, Bob, but there we are. He lost his wife and then lost himself. That's the name of the game, I suppose. That's the way it was. That was the way it was laid down in the computer up top, and the moving finger right sort of thing, and having writ, and that's it.
then it becomes a little bit of a hassle what to do first. But I'll proceed through the instructions there and try and familiarise myself with it. But it's something so entirely new that you've got to stick to it to understand it. And by the way, my bird's back again. He's been with me for 12 days, driving me up the wall, and I can't get at him because as soon as I get out of the kitchen, he's gone. He flies away, and I make all sorts of noise, and I put the radio set right against the window this morning, and I got rid of him for up until just a few minutes ago. So that's one way of helping things, but I had to switch the radio off, of course, when I came on air. But I'll try it again. Here for 12 days, and he missed on Sunday, so I suppose he had a spell on Sunday, but I never heard him. Well, I watched the Bathurst there right through, and well, it was a good race, and by Jove, it was fast. And what the Jaguar. I'm getting a lot of those calls. Yes, the Jaguar won, and our other favourite, the timing chain came off or smashed or something within reach of the finishing post. He had to go round about once more, I think, and he'd have made it, and the timing chain went. Oh, there were quite a lot of problems there. Well, of course, the pace was so intense that I suppose it was a struggle actually for the motors to keep up with it. Oh, get away. You hear him? Yeah. When he gets tired of that, he dive bombs the window, and he comes off second best. Well, Jeff, are you ready? VK3AUX, VK3EN. Okay, Jeff, on the suggestions there. Well, no, I won't be using it in conjunction with a transmitter, not for some time anyway, because the old trio is going well enough now, so that'll have to do me. In fact, it's performing very well, and that'll have to do me for some time. But as far as the other stations are concerned, for tuning in, are using it as a general coverage receiver. There's that thing burping again. It'll be more or less a receiver for scanning the band and that. There is scanning on it. That's another one of its functions. And what else is there? There's too many things. Anyway, Charlie gave it up after he'd been reading through a few pages. He gave it up, I think, for a while because there were too many things to consider and to try and get a grip of. Ron Fisher is going to give the details of this receiver as soon as he gets it. Well, I don't know whether he's got it yet or not, but he was expecting it any day, and it'll be rather interesting. So anyway, I've asked him to call down to have a look if he wishes, and just have a first look here before he gets his. Because I think he's the man actually that might be very helpful. But in regard to the diodes and things, well, it's not worth the risk. Because according to the instruction, it's got the new type of ring modulator. So I think that's something new for receivers of this type anyway. Well, all about the bird. Well, I can't get near him with a hose. As soon as I open the back door, he's gone. He knows I'm after him, and he's gone, and he sits on the fence and laughs at me. And then as soon as my back turns, he's up and at it again. Oh, well. I suppose he's got a good reason for it, but he's certainly persistent. 12 days, eh? 5 o'clock in the morning he starts, and he knocks off at dusk. See, so can you beat that? VK3AUX, VK3EN. Well, Bob, what about it?
I just wondered if there was another carrier with anything modulation on it. But anyway, good morning to you, Henry, and good morning to you, Fred. So there was another carrier there, and I was just waiting to see if he'd modulate. I don't know if it's still there and whether I'm overriding it or not. In any case, how are you both this morning? And, well, to you first, Henry, and then you pass it to Fred, VK3ARK. So VK3EN and the group, this is VK3WY.
Good, VK3ARK, VK3EN. Yes, well, I didn't hear another station, evidently. I was talking over the top of you, Fred. So we both came on together. Well, now, what have we got this morning? My friend has come back, Bob. He's there, alive and kicking at 5 o'clock in the morning. And, well, I had to put the screen up in order to stop him. And incidentally, I got a letter from a bird watcher, of all people, who must have been listening into the day that I did give a description of this confounded bird. Well, anyway, he was back with me this morning again. So I had to go through the same routine of putting up the 3-ply over the window and leaving it there for the rest of the day, because he goes from daylight to darkness. Goes through the whole time, he never lets up. After he finishes pecking at the window, Fred, he dives bombs. And when you put the 3-ply up, that seems to stabilise him a bit, because he turns head over turkey after he hits it, but he still comes back. All right, Fred, haven't heard you for a little while. VK3ARK, VK3EN. Good. Now, who was that again? 3BCM, was it?
VK3BCH.
Oh, good. VK3BCH. Right, well, this is VK3EN. Well, I'll reply to the others first, friend, and then we'll ask you in. Well, okay, your experience there with the birds down there too, Fred. Well, this particular bird, I don't know just what is the matter with him, but at 5 o'clock in the morning he starts. Well, then he wakes me up, and it's a bit early, you know, and he taps at the window for, I'm until about 6 o'clock. Well, I can stick it no longer. Well, I get out and ask him to go away. And I've got an old tray there. I bang that against the window and off he goes. Well, I don't see him for about 10 minutes after. We don't hear him. About 10 minutes after that. But back he comes and looks in the window, and then when he gets irritable, he dive bombs it. And just the same as he does when the three ply is up. So I don't know what to make of him. But anyway, I would like to have got the address of this bird watcher, because it's quite a nice a little brochure there about it, and tells all the nice things about the birds, but he doesn't give you any idea of just how to stop them doing that performance. So I'm no wiser. Well, since you've been away, Fred, I've got a new toy, and the more I read the instructions, the worse I get. So, Bob, it's a shocker. There's my radio phone giving a bird. It gives very good description of all the conditions that you experience on the short and the medium waves. A very good manual. But the operation of it, there are so many functions that by the time you read how to control one function, there's about, I think I counted 4 things to do. That is the time clock. So it's got 2 time clocks, the UTC and the normal one for the country that's going to. And there's 4 keys to press in sequence, and then after you do that, you press either megahertz, the kilohertz, heaven knows what else, or the orange key. And that's the last one you press, and then the thing's set up. Well, you do the same to the local time, and then when you want to compare the local time with an overseas time, then you press more buttons, and up comes the time in that other country. So that's only one of the things, Bob, that I've got to try and get an idea of. But all the other functions will, the monitoring, actually, the memories, there's about 3 buttons to press before they're entered in memories. And there are 21 of them, Fred, 21 memories, and there's 3 operations per memory. So I think I'll have to get someone to read the manual and interpret it to me. Ron Fisher's going to give a detailed description, and he's going to describe what they can do. So that'll help me quite a lot. But after you get a few years old, the memory doesn't seem to function too well. Not when there's so many things to think of. Right, now what? I think that'll do me for the time anyway. VK3BCH. Well, will you break in now, please, and tell us who you are, because I can't recollect that. VK3BCH, VK3EN of the group. They're useless, because that new fret that they've got in is going to cop it. So that's one of the things which I've got to forego. But anyway, I've got happy news. what do you know? The BC348's going. Wacko. And the first station I tuned in, I went down to the aviation stations and the weather stations and that. And the first one that I came across was Cooktown. A maximum signal from them, and the old BC348 is doing a darn good job. Now, that was my good friend 3WV. Yes, he came over and he brought the tube. I didn't get the 6SR7, but I got the 6SQ7, which is the same characteristics, and that was plugged in. And yours truly, do you know what the trouble is? I'm ashamed to say it. I plugged the tubes in the wrong holes, and no wonder the damn thing wouldn't go. So anyway, we consulted the plan specifications, and then we wakened up to the fact that the wrong tube was in the wrong place. Well, we swapped them over, and in came the signals. Right. Well, I'm really glad that I've been able to salvage that thing, and only through Dennis's discovery there, and his bringing over the new tube. That was the whole reason of pulling out the other one. So we got on quite well. We had a very good afternoon. So I expected him on this morning, but he must be busy. Well, now we get on to the Eddystone. Right. Well, I got a clue from the Eddystone. He's a bit of clue. He's a cluey guy, because he started rummaging in the loomed up wiring, and he discovered that one wire was a little bit the worse for wear. It had evidently been heated up. So anyway, he traced that back, and one end was open, and the other end went goodness knows where, but it ended up in a mute operation. So that was fixed, and now we're waiting to get a signal on the Eddystone. That is with any sort of luck, but I think there are other complications too. Good. VK3ASE, VK3EN. Well, you'll be glad to hear that my bird has returned to the fold and is at the present tapping at the window. I could strangle the little blighter. I've had the 3-ply up to the window time and time again, and that's defeated him to some extent, but he still dive bombs it. Well, anyway, he missed me yesterday, and so I took all the safeguards down, and said, blow me, he's back again this morning. Never mind. We can put up with that. It is the first time actually that anything like that has ever happened. Now, Dave, where's Tony got to now? We never hear his name mentioned, or any of the rag juice that used to take place late at night. You had lots of eavesdroppers those days, and well, he just disappeared out of sight. So, rather curious to find out just what has happened to him. Now, Bob, have you got an AM transmitter in mind? Is that the idea of buying the bits? Because I think you had an idea that you would make one up. But when the 101E comes back, well, then perhaps you change your mind. Because there's a lot of work to do. The modulator all that's got to be constructed, and all the power supplies you have, but there's a lot of work to do. But it keeps us busy. As I was telling Dennis when he was here yesterday, that the radio, I think, is the only thing that keeps me sane. Because when you're on your own day after day, and you're not in a position to get out anymore, well then it's a pretty grim story. But I am expecting the doctor this morning for a checkup. I think it's about time, because I haven't had one for 2 years. So it's the right thing to do, I think. But as far as health is concerned, there's no problem there. It's just this arthritis that really got into me. Now, Dennis has got 4 of the MFB units. And I was rather interested to see where they went, because there were 120 of them. And he's got 4 of them, and Charlie's got 1 of them, and I've got, I did have 4 of them, but they were put to other uses. So that accounts for only a few. Where the rest has gone, where the rest of the package has gone, I wouldn't know. Now, Dave, what do we...
Well, then we went from that and got ourselves involved in car radio design and construction, and marketed a car radio under the name Travel Tone. We made some good ones, we made some terrible ones, but I had a very tough task. I was the service manager. You come it both ways when you're service manager. But later on, in the later 30s, of course, I left that and went into the broadcasting industry, where I spent the rest of my working life. First of all on the technical side, and then on the management side. But I had my fill of car radio in the very, very early days, because we were in before there was any reasonable miniaturization of components and so forth, and it was really a work of art to keep a 6-valve car radio down to something like a reasonable size. Anyhow, it was good fun. It was a living, and that was the main thing. So there we are. Yeah. Oh, Henry, he might be listening. I was going to suggest that you need for your arthritis sort of trouble, you need a lube and oil change, Henry. And I don't think I had any particular comments for you. Bob, I had a note about front end, but I don't know just what it means. It can mean so many things. So there we are. I'll say cheerio on this over and listen out. So this is VK3HZ, concluding with VK3WY. Very nice having you. VK3HZ is off and clear, listening out, and calling in VK3WY. Cheerio, chaps.
VK3EN and the group VK3WY. Okay, fine. Not quite sure whether we should talk Henry or not, whether he'd be there, but still, we'll take it you are within hearing, Henry, and you can come in afterwards if you're free. Henry, and I think you also mentioned, Dave, about building up an AM transmitter. I did vaguely think of it, but I don't know that I'll go ahead. But what it did do was to make me think, well, there's a power supply there which perhaps I could use. Just check and see how the power supply is, and that's as far as I've gone.
Well, I've come out of it, all right. Now, what... I didn't hear much of it, Bob, or... I heard most of yours, Dave, but Murray's I missed, of course, because I was talking to the doctor, and he's the one that came up when I was first here. That's just three and a half years ago, I think. So, and I didn't recognise him because he shaved off his beard. And oh, what a difference it makes. Yep. Well, I'm lacking on anything much to say at the moment now, so that I haven't thought of before. But George was sitting alongside me, of course, and when that happened in High Street Road there, he never had any symptoms of it. Why should I be alongside him and then not they'd get it and he didn't get it? He didn't have any effect. I haven't given that any thought right to the present moment. So that's something we'll have to find out why. Unless he was relaxed or something like that, because that might have been some reason for it. Yes, well, we need to talk about end-to-end collisions there. That Geelong Road one, when all those cars just bashed into one another, one after the other. That must have been a scene there, because I think there were about 40 of them, weren't there? Anyway, around about that number. But there was a real pile-up there, just one after the other. They seemed to hit for some reason or other. They weren't paying attention, but it's a nasty effect there. Talking about an enamel car, yes, George had an enamel car first to start with, and they were nice little things to drive too. It's that was before. When would it be? About 1923, I suppose. And he was taken with this enamel car. It wasn't a new one, of course. It was a second-hand one. But in those days, that's about all you could afford. And he had it for quite a long while before the engine started to play up. And then, well, it was just one thing after another after that. And then he passed it in on, well, what did he get now? Oh, some American car now, I can't bring it to mind. But it was, the heavy type, in about 1924, 1925, I suppose, those models that were out then. But he had that for quite a long while. It was quite a big bus. What's the other thing I got here? Oh, Charlie and I have entered our 50 years now. So we just about come together there in the timing. Bit of a coincidence, but 1936, and he was in 1936. What the date was, but I'm somewhere about November, I think. Anyway, we'd have to look that up. It'll be on the license date. And he was just a little earlier. So I suppose this coming year there'll be two more blokes for the period. I did write to Harry there and told him of the circumstances in which I got my permit in 1924, but they didn't choose to answer. So I let that go. I didn't worry any more about that. But Jimmy Malone gave me that in 1924. So that means I'm a pretty old guy now, doesn't it? All right, chaps, that'll have to do for this morning. And I'll go out and cover up the grass that I've raked onto to the lawn there to dry out, if it hasn't already started to rain. And I'll put a match to it, and that'll be a little more. Well, I've had all the grass now that, the weeds that we pulled out. I told you it was about 3 feet high. Well, this is the last batch, and I'll have burnt that huge thing about 3 or 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet in diameter, and about 3 feet high. Well, I couldn't pull the grass out myself there. I had to leave it, and then when the young people came in from next door and the chap over the road and they started to pull it out, I felt ashamed of myself. But I didn't have it in me to do it at the time, and then I finished the job off. But anyway, I suppose it was the right thing to do. Oh, Bob, does the operation there for the blood bank hurt? I can't remember now, because I had to give blood once, and that was for the first kitty that we had, a little girl. Oh, she's a lovely little thing. And for some reason or other, they classed her as a bleeder. Now, what that meant, I still don't know. But after the wife had given all the blood that she could spare, well, then I was called upon to do the rest. And I was a pretty sick chap by the time I'd finished. I didn't know whether I was Arthur or Martha. And they kept filling me up with coffee. I don't know what for, but anyway, that was the only experience that I'd ever had. So we'll leave it at that, chaps. VK3WY, VK3EN.
Good, boy.
Good. VK3UX, VK3EN. Well, Jeff, well, I did answer you that question about the ground plane, and well, the answer was I haven't asked David yet. There's always something that, coming up during the time that he visits me that I haven't had the opportunity of asking him. But he'll be here tonight, and I've made a note of that, so I won't disappoint you this time. But well, I'm still not convinced. It's a peculiar thing, because you hear that, Mary? I'm getting lots of that now. Right. Well, now in regard to the dogs, well, David's got a golden cocker spaniel. Oh, she's a lovely old girl, and all these years, she's just about 14 now, like yours, Jeff. All these years, the few times that I've been able to get over there, during last year, because I was really housebound most of the year, and when I went over there Christmas Day, do you know that little devil came out to greet me, and she recognised my voice straight away. Now, how can they sense that? She hadn't seen me for months. So she came up wagging her tail, and she's nearly blind now, so they more or less might have to put her to sleep at any time. But she's starting to bump herself now, and Well, you don't like to see that. Well, I suppose the most humane way is to put them to sleep gently. Well, I've had to do it on 2 occasions. And I've taken her up to the vet, taking the little Foxy. That was a strange coincidence. We went to visit a neighbour out this area. That's the wife and I, and that's a long while ago. And they said, well, we've got a golden spaniel there, female, and we've got our own dog. So this one was a stray one, actually, that came and we looked after it because they love dogs. Well, she said, do you want it, Ruth? Oh, Ruth said yes. He said, we love dogs. All right, well, we took her home. And what do you think? We were graced with a Foxy. So there was no one more surprised than Ruth. But anyway, he was a dear little thing. And we had that for 13 years. So, and then unfortunately, it got ill and we took it to the vet and he said, I can't do anything for you. And the poor little devil was put to sleep. And that was number 1. Well, the second one was, what was it? Judy. The second one was Judy, and that was another Cocker Spaniel, only this time it was a male. So we didn't take any chances of getting something we didn't want. Right, well then we had her for many years too. And the same thing happened. She got old, of course. She was a fair age. And when we took her to the vet, he said, she's had her life. And, well, we lost her too. Then the third one, and still a male Cocker Spaniel, well, she died the third day I was in hospital. Now, why, or I don't know, because David visited her to the three nights actually, that the first 3 nights I was in the hospital, and she was all right, but the third day he found her at the radio room door, and she was dead. So I don't know what to make of that, but it looked like as if she missed me that much that she gave it away. Right, well, so much for that too. But now I can't have a dog because I can't keep it in. The place is too open here, and I haven't got a front fence to stop her. So that's one of the things I really miss. Okay, Mary, about your experience too. Well, and getting back to the whistle, well, that's the only reason I do that is I watch the modulation meter, and if that ticks over on the whistle to the about 80%, well, everything is okay. Everything is going all right. Right now, Jeff, or about your oscilloscope there. Yes, well, I've got one I made many, many years ago, and what is it, a 102, I think. And that's a little 3-inch one, and it's been going well for all these years, but I must admit I haven't used it to any great extent since I've been here. But at home I had to connect it up for the